In this lesson, we'll learn how we can start to work with materials inside of Maya. Alright, so in the real world, whenever somebody asks you what kind of a material something is made out of, you're going to be thinking about whether an object is made out of metal, whether it's made out of wood, whether it's made out of paper, plastic, things like that. Now, these kinds of materials are the basic building blocks of our same objects in Maya, so we can actually start to give our objects the look of something like metal or cloth, plastic, or whatever the case may be. Now, when it comes to adding and working with materials, there's actually a few different ways to go about this. One method is to just simply take your object that you want to apply some kind of a material to, right-click on it, and then go to Assign New Material. So, using this method, if we were to just right-click on our object, Assign New Material, once we do that, we now have this little menu that pops up where we can choose from a bunch of different types of materials in order to actually determine what this object is going to be made out of, whether it's metal, plastic, wood, or so on and so forth. Now, obviously there's lots of materials in here, and we definitely won't be able to talk about all of these in the course of this lesson, but if you do want to learn more about these, we actually do have an entire series of courses dedicated to these various rendering nodes found inside of Maya. For now, let's just focus on something like a blend, which you can see a blend has a little bit of a highlight on it. So this is going to be good for something that would be maybe a soft metal, or usually a plastic is another good example of where we would use a blend. So just simply left click on that, and now this new material has been assigned to this vase. You can see this is called Blend 3. We can come in and name this anything that we want, something like vase material. There we are, and now anytime we select this object, we can see this vase material has been assigned to that. Now, to change the color of this is really straightforward. All we have to do is now come into something like the color of our blend, and now begin choosing the color that we want. So if we wanted this to maybe be a little bit more on the orange side, all we have to do is come in, choose that, and there we are. And then if we were to come in and actually render this out, we should be able to actually see the effect of this. So there we are, our nice material that's been applied to this. Now if we wanted this to maybe be a little bit more shiny, we could definitely do that. So simply select my object, go back to my vase material. Right? And by the way, if this is not the menu that you see, just simply press Ctrl A on your keyboard to open up the attribute editor, and that will make sure that you get into this vase material along with the vase object. So let's come in, and if we go down to the specular shading, this is where we can actually begin controlling this highlight that we see here. So we have things like the specular color, which control really the overall color of this little highlight here. So if we wanted to, we could actually get a little crazy with this and start to begin changing things like the color of this highlight, as you can start to see here. Although for most situations, I think you'll find that this specular color set to white or some variation of gray is probably going to be what you would actually want. Now, if we wanted to control the actual size of this, we could begin doing this through the eccentricity. So you can see as I dial this up or down, that will make this highlight really, really sharp and focused. Or if I begin bringing this up, that'll make it really soft and kind of diffused out. So just depending on the look that you want to go for. And then we have this specular roll-off, which you can think of as really just kind of an intensity of this highlight. So between these three different values, we can begin bringing this intensity down and begin softening that way up, or begin sharpening that way down and begin bringing its intensity way up. Alright, now as we start to look at this here in the viewport, this may not always be an exact representation of what this is going to look like. So as you begin working with materials and textures and things like that, it's always going to be important that you actually render this out to get a little bit better idea of just what this is going to look like in your final render. So you can see, looking at these two different images, you can see in the viewport this really does not look nearly as strong of a highlight as what we have here. So in our final render, this is what we really want to pay attention to. So adding a little bit different coloration to our surfaces, a little bit different material types, so this really starts to look a little bit more like a metallic surface. These are all the different things that we can start to control by using materials inside of Maya. Now, in our next lesson, we're going to look at how we can start to begin adding textures and things like that to our different materials.